the time the summer I turned pretty reached season 3, episode 10, expectations were sky high, and understandably so. This episode wasn't just another chapter in the love triangle. It was a reckoning. Years of unresolved tension, buried resentment, and unspoken love between brothers Conrad and Jeremiah finally surfaced in a way that felt earned, mature, and emotionally devastating in the best possible sense. What impressed me most wasn't the drama itself, but the restraint. This finale-adjacent episode chose empathy over spectacle, and in doing so, delivered one of the most satisfying explorations of brotherhood the series has ever attempted. A relationship defined by silence. From the very beginning of the series, Conrad and Jeremiah's relationship has been shaped by what they don't say. Conrad internalizes everything, grief, guilt, love, while Jeremiah wears his heart openly, often masking pain with charm and brightness. Season 3 has slowly peeled back these coping mechanisms, but episode 10 finally forces both brothers to confront the emotional cost of their silence. What makes this episode so effective is that it doesn't villainize either brother. Conrad isn't portrayed as the emotionally unavailable obstacle, nor is Jeremiah reduced to the second choice. Instead, the episode acknowledges that both of them have been wounded by loss, by expectations, and by loving the same girl in different ways. Conrad's emotional growth finally feels real. For much of the series, Conrad's emotional arc has been about learning how to speak instead of withdrawing. Episode 10 shows the culmination of that journey. He doesn't lash out. He doesn't disappear. He stays present, even when it hurts. In one particularly quiet scene, Conrad admits that he thought distancing himself would protect everyone else. It's a devastating realization, not because it's shocking, but because it finally sounds like self-awareness rather than self-punishment. This is the most emotionally articulate we've ever seen him, and it feels like growth rather than a sudden personality shift. The episode allows Conrad to grieve not just his lost relationship with Belly, but the damage his choices caused with Jeremiah. That acknowledgement alone is powerful because it reframes his past actions as flawed, not cruel. Jeremiah's pain is given the weight it deserves. What truly elevates this episode, however, is how it treats Jeremiah. For seasons, he's often been positioned as the emotional alternative, warm, safe, and endlessly forgiving. Episode 10 finally lets him be angry, hurt, and honest without punishing him for it. Jeremiah doesn't explode. Instead, his pain comes out in carefully chosen words that land harder than shouting ever could. He admits that loving Belly always felt like competing with a ghost, someone he could never quite outrun. That line alone encapsulates years of quiet suffering. The show deserves credit for allowing Jeremiah to claim his hurt without framing it as jealousy or immaturity. His feelings are validated, not dismissed, and that validation is long overdue. Belly is the catalyst, but not the center. Interestingly, this episode understands something crucial. While Belly is the emotional catalyst for the brothers' conflict, she is not the sole focus of it. The confrontation between Conrad and Jeremiah isn't really about choosing Belly, it's about choosing honesty. That distinction matters. By shifting the emotional center away from romantic rivalry and toward fractured brotherhood, the episode deepens the story. Belly's presence is felt, but the conversation belongs to the brothers, and that narrative choice makes their reconciliation, however fragile, feel meaningful. A conversation years in the making. The heart of episode 10 lies in a single extended conversation between Conrad and Jeremiah. There are no dramatic interruptions, no swelling music cues demanding tears. Just two brothers finally saying the things they were too scared to admit before. What stands out most is the listening. They don't interrupt. They don't try to win. They sit with discomfort. In a show known for heightened emotion, this grounded, almost painfully realistic exchange feels revolutionary. The writers understand that closure doesn't mean resolution. By the end of the conversation, nothing is magically fixed, but something fundamental has shifted. There's understanding where there used to be resentment. Jenny Han's most mature storytelling yet. Under the guidance of creator, This episode feels like the most adult chapter of the summer I turned pretty to date. Han has always excelled at capturing emotional nuance, but here she resists the temptation to simplify pain into winners and losers. Instead, the episode embraces emotional complexity. Love doesn't erase guilt. Apologies don't undo harm. But honesty creates space for healing, and that's the quiet thesis of Episode 10. Why this episode works so well. What ultimately makes this episode so satisfying is its emotional integrity. It respects the audience enough to let moments breathe. It trusts viewers to understand subtext, and it honors the characters' histories instead of rewriting them for convenience. Conrad and Jeremiah's relationship has always been the emotional backbone of the series, even when the focus seemed romantic. Episode 10 finally treats that bond with the gravity it deserves, reminding us that first loves may shape us, but sibling relationships define us. Final thoughts. Season 3, Episode 10 doesn't offer easy answers or neat endings, and that's exactly why it works. By prioritizing empathy over drama and conversation over conflict, The Summer I Turned Pretty delivers one of its most emotionally resonant episodes yet. I'm genuinely pleased with how this episode handled Conrad and Jeremiah's relationship, not because it chose sides, but because it chose truth. And in a story built on longing, love, and loss, that honesty feels like the most beautiful